Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to the Alpha for Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. As today, our very fate hangs in the balance, poised on the Emperor's palm. Which is a very melodramatic way of saying that we've got some enemy ships ahead of us, so we should probably check those out. Let's see what we've got. You're facing several Eldari scout ships. The Xenos are in no hurry to attack, and time seems to have slowed down. One wrong movement, and carnage may ensue. Well, given that we now know that Eldari scout ships are awful, I think maybe we'll let Yurliet take a crack at this for us. Yurliet's speech is met with a torrent of Eldari abuse that is too much for even the Lord Captain's elucidator. The Xenos accuse her of betraying her kind by conspiring with the Monkays, and cut the connection unceremoniously. Yet, their ships are no longer blocking the way. Hey, all's well that ends well. Except for Yurliet, I suppose, but to be fair, this is the life she chose. Side note, I do look forward to them fully implementing the ship upgrade system, because honestly, I've found the ship combat thus far to be surprisingly engaging. I like that each of the different enemy types has their own distinct strategies and equipment you have to adapt to. It's so quiet. Is it possible? Have I found the one place in the universe where my chatty friends have nothing to say? What? Not one tragedy in the past? Not a single calamity in the future? Congratulations, Adira. We'll earmark this planetoid. In case you survive long enough to reach retirement, I guess. I am unable to perceive what has been and what will be, but I too, hear this otherworldly hush. A strange warp anomaly. Strange and disquieting. Now that is interesting. Not just because of the psychic silence, but also because I didn't realize companions could have two-way chatter like that, just on the normal planet scan screen. That makes me wish I'd lingered a bit longer when scanning other planets in the past, just in case there was continued banter I missed. But again, I guess that's something to look forward to in the full launch. And nothing. So it turns out the Emperor's palm was actually pretty empty. We got some plasteel over here, and we had that optional battle that we talked our way past. Gotta say, given the grandiose name, I was really expecting more. But let's see what the Frozen Prince has for us. This one's pretty remote, so I feel like there should be something here. Though I suppose even if there's not, we can always just double back to Cronach. We're only a couple of jumps out from there. Vat of blood, no big deal. And 3 planets, none of which are ones that we're specifically keeping an eye out for. Let's see what the scans turn up. Promethium, we'll take that. We are getting to the point where we have more Promethium than we really know what to do with, but I imagine we'll have more uses for that sort of thing in the full launch. Like this, the planets with no signal. I can't help but wonder if that's just a placeholder because they don't have visual assets for those worlds yet, or if that's actually a hint that we need those better augers or scanners to properly scan those particular planets. Because this one, for example, obviously we have visual on. And that was it. Another largely empty sector. Interesting. Alright, well, that is mildly disappointing, but I guess we have time for Cronach. Let's see if we get some new events. Crazy Mutant Hunter. That's a fun one. Giant Snake. Last jump. What do we got? Nothing. Oh, and here we go.
Lord Captain, according to telemetry, we are in the system of Kiava Gamma, the main industrial world of the Von Valancius dynasty. However, our astropaths report that attempts to contact Governor Goprak have been unsuccessful.
But wait. The Voxmaster is silent for a few seconds.
Lord Captain, a new report. Kiava Gamma is sending a request to exchange data. Should we accept it?
I mean, given that we know that they're broadcasting corrupt Voxcasts that have infected other ships and destroyed them, I'm going to say probably not. No, ignore the transmissions.
As you command, Lord Captain.
The Voxmaster switches to a nearby comm channel to relay your instructions to the crew. For several minutes, nothing happens.
Lord Captain, we ignored the transmission as you ordered, but the Vox system has detected a dozen more incoming requests. Their number is growing every second, and each one is becoming more insistent and stronger. I think I hear something.
Suddenly, a deafening screech erupts from the bridge's Vox system. You hear violent tirades of garbled binary code like the low chuckles of machinery.
Lord Captain, interference detected in the compartment's Vox system. Looks like the bridge is cut off from the rest of the Void ship.
Sector, Coronis Expanse. Region, Cineris Maleficum. Location, Cronach. Material, picked report on events on the bridge when entering Kiava Gamma. Recorded by Servo Skull Watcher 16. Start of picked recording. The Void ship's bridge. Sounds of working cogitators and officers' footsteps. The everyday scene is interrupted by an ear-splitting beeping sound, followed by lumens going out. In the dim glow of the candles and the emergency lights, one of the officers in frame cries out. Another falls to her knees, clutching her head. Over the beeping of Voxes, shouts can only just be heard. What's going on? The doors are locked! We've lost contact with all modules. One of the bridge officers turns to the throne. Lord Captain, the Vox stations are malfunctioning and overloading the system. None of our outgoing transmissions are getting through. The incoming ones that do make it through are distorted beyond interpretation. The Lord Captain gives the order to... Well, right, we definitely don't want to interpret them. They're corrupt Voxcasts. We want to continue ignoring them. Ignore them! Continue trying to contact the rest of the crew! The officer salutes and hurries over to the bridge Vox system, to the Voxmaster, who is leaning over her station. Moments later, a cry of surprise.
Lord Captain, our transmissions are being distorted as we speak. Depressurize the lower modules. Execute adepts of the machine cult. Disable the life support systems. If even one command gets out...
RetconRaider gives the order to... Stop those transmissions at any cost! The Voxmaster nods curtly and connects the tangle of cables coming from the back of her head to the main Vox station.
Spirit of the ship, I beseech thee, shield us from this peril, and allow not the heretical signals to pass.
Vigdis enters one command after another.
The station groans, shrieks, and sparks under her fingers, and a shock passes through the wires. Blood drips onto the control panel, and Vigdis lets out a grinding cry, but does not relent. A few moments later, she crumples. The signals have been blocked. Then she falls unconscious. Scrap code. The voice belongs to the on-deck engine seer who has turned to the Lord Captain from his station. We've been attacked with scrap code, a tech heresy designed to corrupt machines. The transmission received from the planet was infected with this taint, and it is now running through the ship's veins. Somnasiah preserve us. The Voidborn officer appears before the Lord Captain once more. Whatever it is that's attacking us, we have a backup procedure that can circumvent the Vox barrier. In the atrium leading to the bridge, there is a terminal for an isolated system that might still be on a loud pop. The pipes over the officer's head burst, and a blast of hot air flings the Voidborn away from the Lord Captain, his body slamming straight through a cogitator panel. The picked frame spins uncontrollably. The servo skull was jolted by the gust. The picked recorder fogs over, the box picking up the crackling of electricity and a death cry. "Gas on the bridge!" A junior attendant shouts and instantly doubles over, inhaling the poisoned air. The rogue trader. Oof. I mean, the odds aren't great, but we've got to at least try to preserve our crew. Evacuate immediately! Nice. The rogue trader personally oversees the evacuation. Bring the plasma cutters! Get the wounded to the exit! The officers repeat his orders. When the servo skull following the rogue trader reaches the doors, they fall to the plasma cutters and crumble outward. The rogue trader is the last to leave the bridge. Oh, hey, got some actual use out of Karuz, too. Leaning on a support beam, the rogue trader takes several deep breaths, trying to flush his lungs with air. Then he straightens, smooths his uniform, and heads towards a goal known only to him. The servo skull follows. The atrium is in a state of panic. Silhouettes skitter about in the dark hall, illuminated only by the flickering of emergency lumens. Curt orders and someone's feverish words of prayer can be heard. Having lost all communication, the beheaded ship is writhing in agony. It takes a while for the Lord Captain to find the cogitator mentioned by the fallen officer. The panel of the isolated terminal is riddled with cracks and bloodstains, and on the floor by the terminal, a tech priest is lying in a heap, with his head smashed, and technical liquids mixing with blood oozing out of his ports. The Lord Captain attempts to take his chances restoring the terminal. The rogue trader rips the power key off of the tech priest's mechadendrite and opens the cover on the terminal. Sparks fly into his face, but he is confident in his manipulation of the tangled wires and clanging levers. After replacing the cover and ensuring that the system is restored, the Lord Captain brings up the required data on the screens. Currently, the most frightening situation on the ship is in the arsenal. Some of the distorted commands, despite the bridge's best efforts, still made it into the module, and the lower-ranking technomats complied by raising the temperature inside the ordnance depot. The heat is about to hit critical levels, and the shells are going to explode, blowing the arsenal and the neighboring modules to smithereens. The Lord Captain knows where help is needed most. He decides to... Well, no question about it. We're an expert in demolitions. That's like our one thing. This way! To the arsenal! Quickly! When the Lord Captain and the officers he gathered along the way reach the arsenal, their servo skull's ocular lenses instantly fog over. On the box recording, the rogue trader issues commands calmly and succinctly. Execute those responsible for carrying out the asinine orders that came from the bridge, and get the module sorted. The 3 technician teams immediately head to the overheated reactors, and the privates to the warhead transporters. An hour later, the situation is back to normal. You know, normally I might say that was a bit too harsh, but I think I can make an exception in this case, yeah.
The walk to the bridge is uneventful. The crisis is past. Although wounded and crippled, the ship nevertheless is returning to its normal operations. Life on the bridge is as bustling as ever, even though the people are surrounded by destruction. The senior officers have the situation under control, and the people have been organized. The emergency crew have already finished repairing the pipes, the technomats are setting up cogitators and consoles, and the healers are bagging up what few corpses there are and examining the wounded. By the comm station, the rogue trader runs into the Boxmaster.
Praise the Emperor, you're in one piece, Lord Captain. The situation on board is satisfactory. I was just in the middle of setting up comm channels. Soon, all the Voxcasters will be fully operational.
Another man appears in the pict frame. A junior officer, completely out of breath, carrying a heap of scrolls. The Voxmaster nods at him.
Ah, here are the reports, Lord Captain. If you find yourself able to return to your station, I can immediately give you a rundown of the state of affairs on the ship.
End of pict recording. I think that went pretty well.
Lord Captain.
The Voxmaster's voice is quivering with exhaustion.
The situation has been brought under control, more or less. It will take some time to eliminate the consequences of the attack completely, but the vessel is capable of motion. We may even be able to conduct a warp jump if we feel we should leave the system. Allow me to bring you up to date. Fortunately, the bridge suffered only minor losses. The reports mention only a few casualties that have already been replaced. Giaba Gamma went silent after transmitting the harmful signal. I will refrain from sending inquiries to the industrial world to avoid a second attack. I am afraid we have exhausted our options for remote analysis. More information can only be obtained by closing the distance, or even sending an away party to the planet's surface.
The Vox clicks as Heinrichs joins the channel. The time has come to remind you about our agreement, rogue trader. I must be present on your entourage during your expedition to Giaba Gamma. I am counting on your cooperation. Easy there, Heinrichs. I don't really appreciate people trying to strong-arm me. But you're already part of my team, so I'll allow it. This time.
The crew is awaiting further instructions, Lord Captain.
Artificial object. I'm gonna guess that's orbital defenses of some sort. And a named planet. Atli. Okay, let's clear the planets first. Dead world. Turns out it's dead. And a point of interest, okay. This dwarf planet is marked on the Von Valancius Trade Empire charts as Atli, and serves as a backup source of water for the habitable worlds in the neighboring systems. Due to the abundance of bacteria proliferating in the Atli hydrosphere, the extraction of ice was stopped half a century ago. But much to your officer's surprise, the augurs detected an unidentified mining rig deep under the ground. Presumably, the excavation is aimed at extracting clay minerals near the planet's core, enriched with iron and other metals. Interesting. The Extractium turns out to be Incendia Corda's latest investment, whose domain is located just within a few jumps from the Chronox system. While this world is of little value to the Von Valancius dynasty, your officers see this gesture as an attempt to test the boundaries of the newly minted rogue trader's leniency. Which is probably an accurate read on the situation. Magos Pascal notes the unusual composition of Atli's core. The subsequent development will allow the extraction of rare refractory metals. Heeding his advice, the rogue trader decides to keep the Extractium for himself. Your people easily assume control, as the frightened workers and the token security crew do not even attempt to resist. The extractia machines are restarted shortly after, and the amassed containers with the precious ore are delivered to your ship's cargo holds. My compliments to the Korda dynasty. I may not appreciate your methods, but I do appreciate your metal. Which, unless I'm mistaken, was added directly to our profit factor. Very nice. Which means it's now time to investigate Kiaba Gamma. Or rather, the artificial object poised directly in front of it. Which...
All stations, report when manned and ready.
Oh, okay. I was actually expecting some sort of automated security system, but apparently it is just a straight-up 5-ship armada of Chaos ships, so not actually a whole lot to worry about there. They are the weakest of our potential foes. Okay, so we're drawing fire pretty much no matter what. Might as well lean into it.
The time has come.
Shields to forward. Torpedoes out.
Torpedoes locked.
Scan for weaknesses. Warp wiggle. And forward guns. Fire!
This one's going down.
Right shield's out. No hull damage. Oh, this is new. Ship makes a shallow warp jump in the forward direction. 3 to 5 range. Oh, interesting. So it teleports you forward 3 to 5 spaces. I could see that coming in handy. And here they come. Can't quite remember the firing arcs on these guys, but I think they have one long-range forward gun. And then mid-range side guns. Yeah, see. Apostate Lance, long-range forward gun. Actually, you know what? They might have very similar weapon loadouts to us in general. The long-range forward, the low power but long-range rear, and then mid-range sides, with some overlap, obviously. Plus, of course, these various special moves, teleportation, counterbalanced with that whole burnout thing. And torpedoes. The destroyers drop torpedoes. Okay. This is certainly something we can work with. Let's go for... Ooh, let's go for that one. We've already knocked out his shield, so might as well take advantage of that. Actually, can we trigger both of her powers? Oh no, of course. Of course, the one inaccessible button hidden behind another part of the UI is our Master of Ordnance. Well, it is just an alpha. I'm sure they'll get that fixed. Alright, so that's got them down to 46. We will not be able to finish them off this round. So let's just do a strafing run on these other guys. Actually, it would be great if we could get our forward guns on the damaged chip, but unfortunately, the angle really just doesn't work out in our favor here. Not unless we want to park in front of those two destroyers, which is a terrible idea. Nah, we'll just stick with the strafing run.
Fire right now!
We also need to remember those torpedoes on our left.
Leave the hull strewn across the stars! Another salvo!
2 shields down, light hull damage. Can we? Nope. Fair enough. We'll just wrap around.
Onward!
Which, in theory, should mean that we're only in range of their dorsal guns. I hope, because obviously we're exposing our unshielded side to them. But from what I've gathered thus far, these guys have guns facing in all directions. We've just placed ourselves in the arcs of their weakest guns. I didn't really think about that guy. Thankfully, those are really weak guns. Though again, to be fair, we do have several levels on our ship at this point. And the Chaos ships are basically the baseline default enemies. So it's not really unusual that they seem weak in comparison to us at this point. A fight like this would have been pretty overwhelming when we first started out. Yeah, there's those side mounts. So they do basically have a very similar weapon loadout to our ship, just weaker guns, plus that teleport move. And of course the perpetual slow burnout. Which does mean, in theory, we could just play keep away until they burn to death, but where's the fun in that? Let's go ahead and take these guys out. We've got pretty good openings on 2 of them. Pop off a shot at this guy.
Macro cannons, volley!
Bootleg reverse. That puts us right in this one's weak arc. Now forward guns into this guy.
Fire the lance batteries!
Nice. Now reload the starboards.
Fire right now!
Ah, that was nowhere near as effective as I was hoping it would be.
Unleash our vengeful salvo!
And let's kind of nudge those torpedoes away. Oh, dorsals.
Leave their hull strewn across the stars!
We'll take it. Okay, I think we're good. I mean, obviously we'll draw some fire, but nothing we can't handle. Yeah, they can't even get through our shields with most of this stuff. Interesting. I wonder why he didn't take a pot shot. Alright, let's wrap this up. Well, I mean, let's get close to wrapping this up. We'll go ahead and plop our torpedoes right here, right in the middle of this cluster. Nice. That's one out. Plus it inflicted spillover damage to the other two. We've got torpedoes coming in on our left. We'll have to keep that in mind. Though, I mean, if we push up and right, that should put us well outside its range. Hard right. Starboard guns.
Fire right now!
That's another one down. And now we'll focus fire on number 3.
This one's going down. Leave their hull strewn across the stars.
And that's number 3. Okay, we're in good shape. Let's, we'll just nudge this guy. Keep us in their dorsal arc. Should be fine. Oh, wow. Turns out the torpedoes had much more range than I was expecting. Not a huge deal, though. We're still sitting at about 60%. And that ship's basically burnt itself out. Oh, yeah, and the other one just exposed its unshielded side to us. Let's wrap this up.
Macro cannons, volley! Leave their hull strewn across the stars!
And bootleg reverse. Leave their hull strewn across the stars.
Bleed them! The time has come.
Torpedoes out.
Annihilate them!
And shields to front. Actually, if we jump forward far enough, we would be within firing range. Ah, no, that's not far enough. We were better off where we were. Ow. And we're done. We'll detonate on the unshielded side. Nice.
Another salvo! I'll mention this triumph in my memoirs.
Okay, enemy fleet is gone. In theory, we should be able to land now, but I notice it still mentions an artificial object. Maybe the artificial object is Kiava Gamma? We've got a landing point. Oh, and yet another level up. Nice. We're actually almost at time, so we'll run through the intro here, and we'll do that level up. I think that'll bring us to a good stopping point. Heinrich frowns as his eyes sweep over the manufactorum's dark halls. No solemn ceremony, no personal meeting with Magi. I fear we are too late, and we won't be dealing with clandestine heretics after all. Binary areas of alarm stream out of Pascal's Vox synthesizer. In their neurotic, broken rhythm, you sense a call to arms and a warning of danger. Heinrichs, refresh my memory. What business brought you to Kiava Gamma? I assumed I would conduct an investigation and track down traces of the cult of the Final Dawn. I believe I can discard that plan now. Both the incident with the scrap code and the manner in which we were forced to land on Kiava Gamma indicate that the situation has taken a turn for the worse. Nevertheless, I must use this opportunity and try to determine what the cult was doing on an industrial world, and what specifically interested them on a planet full of sacred machines and servants of the Omnissiah. First, we must find someone who can tell us what's been going on here. Heinrichs pauses, straining to hear something. If, that is, there is anyone left here to speak to. Right. And how would you suggest we go about doing that precisely? To start, let's look around and find out why the arrival of the rogue traitor did not elicit the usual fuss. To speak plainly, I would not count on a warm welcome at this rate. Better keep your weapon at the ready. Always do. But we'll learn nothing standing here. Let's go. The interrogator nods, continuing to stare into the surrounding gloom. Okay, so that gives us a general idea of what we've got in store for us next time. But as aforementioned, we're pretty much out of time, so let's run through this level up. As per usual, I imagine this will just take a few minutes. Characteristic for Ret. And I think we're pretty much done with weapon skill and strength, so we'll just dump that in toughness. Which also boosts our Karoo, so that actually works out. Next we've got Heinrichs, who pulls a skill. Athletics is an option, so we might as well max that out. Which, honestly, I think pretty much means he's just done with skills. We just don't need him on anything else. New stratagem for Pascal. Which ones do we not have yet? Okay, so it's either Blitz or Trench Line. One will go to Pascal and the other will go to Cassie. So it really comes down to their individual flavors. Pascal is obviously more offense-oriented, while Cassie is more defense-oriented. which I suppose means that Blitz will go to Pascal. Though it's really more about repositioning than it is about offense. Yeah, I think that's fine. And then we'll toss Trenchline to Cassie. You know, having two strategists is kind of overkill. I might make him an assassin in the full launch. Of course, that's assuming we even use him in the full launch. I like him, but as aforementioned, it is essentially going to come down to a vote. As with most of these games, we're going to have more companions than we ultimately have slots to play with. So I'll probably leave it to the Raiders to decide exactly which characters will make the cut. And then, of course, the exact mix of characters will determine who gets what class and skill. We'll grab Nimble for Adira. That's pretty straightforward. Which means Yurliette also gets a talent. But I believe she already has Swift Movement and Nimble. So I guess we'll have her grab Studied Mark. At least that way we'll get slightly more use out of the Mark ability. Yeah. Which means we're pretty much done. That's it for our level up. Once again, under 5 minutes. Under 4 minutes. Not to mention it leaves us off on the perfect cliffhanger, on the cusp of investigating our third and final planet of the Alpha. Who knows what interminable terrors await us in this factory of fear? Find out next time on Rogue Trader. See you then. Oh, and special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Revenant, Alois, Dragon Matrix 7, Drakiith, Theory V23, EgonAlter, Emile, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Kazorm, Mark Giemza, Nathan Welch Jr., OverlordPherom, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Rowan Church, Tomasz Piątkowski, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you could even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG, or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.